Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. Hope you enjoy. The Acculturation Recruiter, written by Something Touches Back. The screen in the main room was briefing a news story about humans again, but the only member of the Deathworlder's family that was paying any attention was the daughter, Ona. Ona was 16 years old and nearly the end of her final year of compulsory school. The news was just another filler bit about some group of humans on Shorty getting a little wild and damaging an entertainment establishment before being rounded up by the more humans in black armor and dragged back off planet. It happened every few weeks, ever since, 5 or so years ago. The humans appeared out of the black and set up a forward logistics base amongst the outer planets. The Kobolins only barely had interplanetary travel capability and were a long way from interstellar travel. So when the humans moved in, the Kobolins had little choice but to say, "Yes, sir." But, to their credit, the humans seemed to at least be trying to be good neighbors. They set up a few embassies around the planet, including one just an hour away, did their best to police their satyrs, and otherwise pretty much left the Kobolins alone. Ona wasn't paying attention to the content of the news. She was drawing the humans that the story was about. Humans and Kobolins had very similar body structures overall, but Ona was struggling to draw their hands, palm up. Human hands had 5 digits in a 1-4-0 arrangement, 1 digit sticking out of the palm away from the center of their body, 4 digits sticking out of the palm opposite the wrist, and nothing on the body center side. Each digit had 3 joints. Ona had many times drawn Kobolin hands with their 404 arrangement of the 4-joint fingers and found human hands to be strange and rather limiting in their dexterity. She looked over at her much younger brother, Hod, and briefly wondered how human children could count on their fingers with so few of them. It didn't occur to her that humans counted to a base 10 instead of base 16. Ona's artistic skills were helped by her mother, Yusei, a teacher of music and visual arts at the local early ages compulsory school. Ona's math and science skills were relentlessly drilled into her by her father, Bessel. Bessel was a physics professor at the local university, and he was coming up in his 10-year review. He was currently sitting at his desk behind Ona in the main room going over a presentation that he would be making in the morning. Ona dreamed of being an engineer, or an astronaut, or something of that nature, but was having trouble finding a university that would accept her. All of the good technical universities, including the one her father worked at, were male only. Kobolin culture was limiting in that respect. Morning came, and Professor Biersel Kofgodas gave his talk on the relationship between energy and wavelength for a body in thermodynamic equilibrium. It was a disaster. Professor Mond, the head of the physics department, slammed the table he was sitting at. "Professor Kofgodas, we've heard this nonsense before. Your theories depend on a constant that implies that there is a minimum discrete value of energy. I've told you before that this is absurd. Obviously, energy is continuous value that can be cut in half indefinitely. What's next? Are you going to tell me that there is some discrete minimum value for momentum? What about gravity? Hell, why not time itself? Tenure is denied, and at the end of the semester, this institution no longer has need of your services." It was still early in the day when Biersel found himself in an off-campus bar nursing some strong ethanol. The poured out on his paper on the bar beside him. He only pulled himself out of his glass to notice his surroundings when a hand picked up his paper. A hand with 5 digits. The human caressed the paper and said, "I like it. I liked your presentation of it. Perhaps you are the wrong college for this sort of thing. If you are interested in teaching and learning at a college where what the humans call," he caressed the paper again, "quantum mechanics is appreciated, come visit me." Then the human was gone. On the bar were Beersel's paper and business card for John Anderson, Special Skills Liaison Recruiting Office, and an address at the human embassy. It was lunchtime, and Yusei Kofgodas decided to eat lunch outside of a classroom for once. As she sat in a small diner eating an overpriced sandwich and sipping tea, she read the bulletin again. Budget cuts were forcing the school to end its non-essential music and visual arts program for all elementary-age students. Non-essential, and yet the government can find money to repaint all of the public trash cans to look like flower pots as long as the right friend of a friend gets a kickback. At the end of the semester, she would be out of a job. Enraged as she was, she didn't notice when the background noise dropped considerably. It wasn't until a shadow fell across her table that she looked up to see the eyes of a human. "I lay off notice, sir. A lot of that going around today," said the human. "Kobold music is very different from human music, for example. Where we have an 8-note scale, you have a 16-note scale. The principles of composition in your visual arts are similarly unusual. Have you considered taking a sabbatical to learn about human art and teach humans about Kobold art? Think about it. Here's my card." As the human smiled and left, Yusei realized that everybody else at the diner was silently staring at her. She looked down at the card in her hand. John Anderson, Special Skills Liaison Recruiting Office. It was afternoon recess, and Hod Kofgodus was sitting on a bench where the teaching assistants had placed him. With his paralyzed legs, recess was just boredom and humiliation. The teaching assistants could not comprehend, no matter how many times he told them, that he did not enjoy watching the biggest kids in the class playing pushball. Why would he want to watch two teams line up facing each other and then push into each other, hoping to carry a ball 4 more body lengths in 4 plays or less? He didn't have functioning legs, and those same kids loved to call him a freak and push him in the hallways when they passed. It wasn't until both teams stopped moving, got quiet, and stared at him that Hod realized that he wasn't alone. An adult human male had sat down next to him. "You know, Hod," the human said, "where I'm from, people without legs can still get around and do things. I hear you're at the top of your class in math and reading." "That just makes the pusher kids push me more," said Hod. "It makes them mad that I'm better than them at something." "There once was a human named Franklin Roosevelt that was paralyzed like you. He became the leader of the most powerful nation on my home world in a time of war. There was another man named Stephen Hawking who could also not use his legs. He became a physicist like your father. If we can't fix your legs, we can at least provide machines that make your legs less of a problem, and the environment where you could be respected and not be pushed. Keep those thoughts in mind and be open-minded if your parents suggest a change in scenery. Okay?" The human patted Hod's shoulder and got up. As he was walking away, he turned and said, "Oh, my name is John. Take care." The last period of the day featured a calculus test. Ona completed it within 20 minutes to spare, but the rules said that she had to sit quietly until the end. She turned to the black back page and started doodling. Finally, the end of period signal chirped and everybody passed their tests forward. When the test got to the front, that jerk Hercule snatched her test out of the stack and waved it around, showing everybody the doodles and making mocking comments about Ona wanting to be an astronaut. The mocking didn't stop even after they exited this classroom. Hercule and 3 of his friends grabbed Ona's heavily doodled and notebook and, holding it up while running backwards, called Ona all manner of unfeminine names. Suddenly, a new hand clasped the notebook. All 4 boys turned around, went instantly quiet, and then spread apart from the owner of the new hand like they had just seen death himself. The human thumbed through the notebook, looking at the drawings in amongst the class notes, and then closing the notebook as he did so, started walking towards Ona. "So, Miss Kofgodus, you like to draw spacecraft and sometimes humans." When he got close enough, he held Ona's notebook out to her and said, "Did you know that we have both males and females at all ranks in our space fleet, starting with our Space Fleet Academy?" "Do you have female kobolins in your space fleet?" "Not yet. Someone has to be brave enough to be the first to apply." Ona stared at the human in disbelief. "How did you know my name?" "It's what I do," the human said. "I understand you're still thinking about where to go for your advanced education studies. Here's my card. Think it over." Ona stared at the back of the human until he passed out of sight. "John Anderson, Special Skills Liaison Recruiting Office." Having missed the bus, Ona started the long walk home, lost in her thoughts. Dinner started out pretty quiet of the Kofgodus' home. Everyone had something to say, and nobody quite knew how to start. Finally, Yusei asked Bearcell how his tenure presentation went. He said quietly, "They are dismissing me at the end of the semester." Yusei replied, They are laying me off and shutting down my department at the end of semester." The room was silent again until Yusei said, "Maybe we should try somewhere else?" Bursal looked at her. "A man named Anderson offered me a job." Ona pulled a small card out of her pocket. "John Anderson?" Hod piped up. "John's nice. He said they could do something to help me move around on my own." Everybody looked at Hod, and then Yusei pulled out her small card and said, "John Anderson gets around." The next day, everybody skipped their scheduled appointments by claiming family emergency, and the Kofgudder's family piled into their vehicle and headed for the human embassy. When they got there and showed the guards John's card, Hod was thrilled that the first thing they did was produce a powered wheelchair and show him how to use the joystick control to drive it. They even let him run it up top speed around the limousine loop to get a feel of the chair. Then, as the family was led through the building to Mr. Anderson's office, it was not lost on Yusei that the entire building was constructed in such a way as to allow the chair to travel through it. In contrast, Goblin architecture tended to favor steps and curbs everywhere under the theory that differences in elevation allow important people to select good vantage points, either to see or be seen. It was a long and tiring day. There were many details to be worked out and many forms to sign, but at the end of it, everything was finalized. At the end of the current school semester, the Kofgudder's family was immigrating to Earth. Bursal finally asked the question that everybody but young Hod was thinking. "Why? I have no doubt our family will benefit tremendously from this, but why are you humans footing the bill? What do you get out of this?" Mr. Anderson sat back. "We have found that if we just pop in on a few new species and dump a bunch of technology on them, it crashes their economy. If we try to make social changes like equal civil rights for interdependent and gender or caste, we get reactionary pushback and civil unrest. If we try to impose an unified planetary government, it's the same story. Any sudden change imposed from an outside will destabilize the society. So now we take a different approach. Over time, we identify promising families and integrate them as a family into our society and systems. As more and more Kobolins get used to living and working with humans and the other alien species that we have already integrated with, Kobolins as a whole will start developing a multi-species mindset. As more and more Kobolins learn our science and technology from the comforting perspective of it being our technology, they will start to get comfortable with being their technology too. In a few years, our ideas and thermodynamics, for instance, will no longer be seen as radical. When human art and Kobolin art start borrowing from each other, that too helps build a multi-species mindset. When Osa returns as a captain of her own starship, Kobolin attitudes about their woman will slowly change. And when Kobolins see Hod being self-sufficient in his wheelchair, attitudes about Kobolins with disabilities will change. In short, rather than uplifting your people from the outside, we help you uplift your people from the inside. One family at a time until, very soon, Kobolins, humans, and all the other species we have contacted are joined together in one big multi-species family. As you know, the facilities we have built in your outer systems are forward logistics base supporting our fleets. You may not have thought about exactly what that means. We are part of a coalition of species that is in a large and protracted war with another coalition of species. That other coalition has very different philosophy about social organization. In times like these, friends are the most important resource in the galaxy, and I'm here to make some. End of story. I just quickly want to thank my Tier 5 channel members and patrons. Casper Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Barky, It's Difficult to Pronounce, Lord Azrakal, Oakfield, and Dragzoon WRE. Thank you very much.